20. We cover all the top stories that are meant to divide, separate, spread gloom and despair, and instill fear in you to make you submissive and easier to control. With news from around the world, delivered straight to your face. We tell you all the bullshit with scripts passed down from the elites and read from our mouths. With Dick Rammer, Jennifer Phibb, and Lester Gayford with sports. Good evening, everyone. I'm Dick Rammer.
And I'm Jennifer Phibb. We begin tonight with a real-life horror story from the Certainly Illegal Agency, or CIA for short. The CIA has been known for their secretive, criminal, and espionage activities in the past, and with their latest human rights violations in Guantanamo Bay Prison, they continue to be a huge negative in the world and an evil enterprise. Guantanamo Bay has a highly illegal military prison which is on the coast of Guantanamo Bay in Cuba. The majority of prisoners past and present are of Middle Eastern descent. It's referred to as Gitmo for short. The current government of Cuba regards the U.S. presence in Gitmo as, quote, illegal, and insists the Cuban-American Treaty, quote, was obtained by threat of force and is in violation of international law. That statement, translated into American speech, means foreign policy. The CIA hired 2 psychologists to formulate a torture program that was used on some of the detainees in Gitmo. The 2 psychologists, identified as the architects of the family-friendly CIA's torture program, recently testified for the first time at the military court in Gitmo. James Mitchell and Dr. Bruce Jessen were paid $81 million by the CIA to design the torture methods. There's your tax dollars at work, patriots. What the 2 psychologists who sold their soul for money did, on the instructions and urging of the lawless and criminal CIA, was took a training program used by the U.S. military known as SERI, initially designed to resist torture, and reverse-engineered it to inflict torture. SERI stands for Survival, Evasion, Resistance, and Escape. It originally emerged from the Korean War because of soldiers having to endure physical and emotional torture by their captors. Instead, the 2 pieces of shit took that program and reverse-engineered it to inflict physical and psychological torture on the detainees at Guantanamo Bay, just so they can have fun and study human behavior when people are being tortured. So in other words, they took everything that's been trained and learned supposedly for good and defense and used it for evil and attacks. I think we've all heard that story from our trusted officials before. And imagine if you heard of an individual who tortured someone just to study them. What would you say? Sick bastard? They need to be locked up? Well, we won't think like that now, because this is our American CIA, and God blessed America. Only America for some reason. So be a good patriotic citizen and don't question anything pertaining to the U.S. government. Dick.
We will not be intimidated. Those were the words of our hero-in-chief and journalist Glenn Greenwald after being charged with cybercrimes by right-wing Bolsonaro Brazilian government. After being charged with these attempted intimidation, fictitious crimes by Brazilian authorities several weeks ago, in connection to his reporting on corruption in the country, Glenn Greenwald hit back, saying he would fight to defend the right to a free press and his right to report the truth. We are going to defend a free press, Greenwald tweeted in Portuguese. We will not be intimidated by the abuse of the state apparatus or by the Bolsonaro government. Prosecutors claim that Greenwald, who has lived in Brazil with his husband, David Miranda, for many years, is at the center of a, quote, criminal conspiracy to hack cell phones of government officials. In a joint statement released by all the major governments, including the Brazilian government, they commented by saying, quote, we are your overseers. We are the only ones that can hack cell phones, collect information, monitor, and spy on people. How dare anyone do the same thing to us? And in a statement by Ben Wisner, director of ACLU's Speech, Privacy, and Technology Project, he he called on U.S. officials to step in. Quote, the United States must immediately condemn this outrageous assault on freedom of the press and recognize that its attacks on press freedoms at home have consequences for American journalists doing their jobs abroad, said Wisner. I guess Wisner didn't catch our last piece about the CIA and the complete irony of Wisner's statement. In his statement, he's calling on the U.S. to condemn Brazil's assault on freedom of the press. Yet in the very next line says, quote, and recognize that its attacks on press freedoms at home, etc. So in other words, he's asking the U.S. to condemn Brazil for the exact same thing that it's doing. And that's the same U.S. that brutally, viciously, illegally, and inhumanely tortured and continues to torture innocent people for nothing more than psychological study. So, even if the U.S. did condemn it, it would just be for show and to appear as though they give a shit. Lastly, for those who perhaps don't know why Glenn Greenwald is in Brazil to begin with, Mr. Greenwald said in 2011 that his residence in Brazil was a result of the Defense of Marriage Act, an American law barring federal recognition of same-sex marriages that was overturned by the U.S. Supreme Court 4 years later. The law had prevented his partner from receiving a visa to reside with him in the United States. Ah, yes, land of the free. Jennifer?
The Australian wildfires this year, as of January 14, 2020, in total have burnt an estimated 46 million acres, or 72,000 square miles. That's an area larger than the size of West Virginia. They've destroyed over 5,900 buildings, including approximately 2,683 homes, and killed at least 33 people. And a staggering 1 billion animals are now estimated dead in Australia's fires, and some endangered species may be driven to extinction. The number of kangaroos, koalas, and others killed keeps skyrocketing. The major, most human life-threatening fires are along New South Wales and creeping ever closer to major cities like Sydney and Port Macquarie. During the most intense fires, the thick smoke left Australians in cities like Canberra with the worst air quality in the world, reaching conditions that were 20 times more polluted than the limit for hazardous pollution levels. For the first time since 2010, the U.S. federal government is sending some firefighters, around 150 total, to help combat Australia's wildfires. Canada is also sending about 36 firefighters to Australia for the first time. Canadian authorities released a statement saying, 36 is better than none, eh? So let's get this straight. Because of stealing everyone else's stuff, the richest and most highly unnecessary powerful nation ever in the history of the world, the U.S., and their bosom buddy, Canada, are together sending less than 200 firefighters to help with such a massive, destructive inferno? Too bad Australia doesn't have more oil, or we'd send half the army.
Read the line. Read the line.
But we are a nation that cares. We will help anyone in need who has a lot of money or oil, and if we are unable to help, we will send our condolences via email. Or, if you're on Faceplant, send us a friend request, and when we're not busy, we'll ask how your struggles are going, because according to our overseers, we are a nation that cares.
Breaking news.
This postscript just in from the elites. They are urging everyone, please continue to be submissive, accept what you're given, don't question anything, and we promise that we will give you the crumbs that fall from our plates. And the next plate down, and the next plate, and the next plate, until it reaches you. But trust us, you will receive some crumbs. Well, I don't know about you, but I think that's a very, very generous offer. Now, let's turn to our man in the sports dicks, Lester Gayford.
Here on True's News, we report what the scripts tell us to. So we begin sports tonight with some sad news. By now, I'm sure everyone's aware of the passing of that guy that got famous for throwing a ball through a hole. And because of that same act of throwing a ball through a hole, he was rewarded with ridiculous money and celebrity status. The celebrity status courtesy of the media who glorify and praise such people. And not counting endorsements, which we all know pay more than their salary a lot of times. During his playing days, he made around $25 million a year. And just think of all the different kinds of scientists, you know, the ones which gave us all the technologies we have, our knowledge we have of our bodies, our environment and the universe, the ones who have cured diseases, enabled renewable energy, discovered hydroponics. I could go on and on. But anyway, all those greatest creators, inventors, and minds of our time, what do you think they would get paid in relation to somebody who can throw a ball through a hole? At least the same, right? 25 million? Nope. Try between 50 and 110,000 a year. And using an average of that salary, you could employ over 300 scientists for that one person that throws a ball through a hole. So, which would you rather have? Sorry, I had to drop the mic on that one. And since the consensus seems to be that we're supposed to care more about people with a lot of money, we'll continue our coverage of the tragic death of the person who could throw a ball through a hole pretty well. Let us also not forget there was 9 people total who died in that helicopter. That's kind of strange because you only hear of 1. Well, 2, but that's because the second was related to the money. I guess those other 7 weren't rich enough, so fuck 'em. And if you think 9 people dying for something that was pretty much unavoidable is sad, times 9 by 2,777. And that's how many people die every single day from hunger, which is preventable, and totally preventable diseases. That's 25,000 people every single day. But we're supposed to be heartbroken over 1, but not the 25,000, right? And turning to the other big story that our scripts instruct us to, the Stupid Bowl, or as the owners of the system refer to it, Cha-Ching Day. We sent our man Harry Hopper to speak with a senior citizen who whistled the national anthem at the regular game that they say is big.
Here we are on Stupid Bowl Sunday, the day where our oppressors swim in the money they made from this day and laugh at the stupidity of everyone who's bought into it. Another day to buy a bunch of junk food that's bad for you, made with cheap artificial ingredients and fillers, and have your brain serenaded with what piece of junk to buy next that you don't need. So just relax and enjoy the Roman football players, and pay no mind to the men behind the curtain. But we're not here for truth. We're here to talk to the man who, for the first time at the Stupid Bowl, has whistled the national anthem purely with his anus. I got a chance to sit down and speak with Robert Johnson afterwards. So, Mr. Johnson, it's nice to meet you. Thanks for sitting down on the donut and speaking with me. So how did this all start, you whistling with your asshole?
Well, it actually started by mistake. When I was younger, me and some buddies used to have farting contests. I used to practice my ass acoustics a lot because we were all competitive, and I perfected the farting technique I called the stutter step. It sounded like a damn DJ.
Very nice. How were you able to fart enough to practice?
Well, if you get on all fours and stick your ass in the air, you can inhale air with your anus just like you can with your mouth and a burp.
Very informative and descriptive. I'll have to try that sometime. So through practice, you learned you could whistle with your sphincter muscles. When was the first time you put it into practical use?
Well, I had always been too shy to do it in public, but when I first laid eyes on the woman of my dreams, who is now my wife, I knew I had to do anything to try and win her over. So right then and there, in the middle of the mall, I whipped my pants down and began to serenade her.
That's really sweet. What song did you whistle for her?
My Girl by the Temptations.
Wow, good choice. And there's quite a lot of range in that one. Under such pressure, were you able to hit the notes?
They didn't used to call me Trouser Trumpet for nothing.
What did your future wife say when she first heard you whistle a tune with your brown eye?
Well, at first, she thought it was fucking disgusting.
what did she actually say to you?
Those were her exact words. She said, "Man, that's fucking disgusting." But when I broke it down like a jukebox, she changed her tune. Pun intended.
So did you sphincter whistle tunes for your wife a lot after that first time?
Actually, yes. We had a thing for a while where I used to whistle her to sleep some nights. But that all ended one night that tragedy struck.
Oh, I'm really sorry to hear that, Mr. Johnson. Would you care to elaborate what happened?
Well, my wife and I had been out having a few drinks one night. More than a few, actually. It was late when we left the bar, and we were really hungry. There was no place open but Taco Bell.
Oh, well, actually, Mr. Johnson, you don't have to explain, really.
No, I want to. It's important I tell my story. If there is anyone listening who's an anus whistler, perhaps I could prevent further tragedy from happening.
I think we can surmise the rest of the story, sir.
No, you asked me, and I'm going to tell you. This is a part of my life that is very near and dear to my heart and my asshole.
Oh, shit.
So anyway, as I was saying, we were both intoxicated and very hungry, and we loaded up on the toxic hell. I must have eaten 5 pounds of that shit. As we were laying down to go to sleep, she asked if I could whistle her a lullaby. I asked her which one, and she said Dixie.
Was that an expression, or did she actually mean whistling Dixie?
She actually meant whistling Dixie. I had done it before, and it was one of her favorites, but it took a lot of sphincter muscle.
Oh, Lord. Sir, really, there's no need to.
No, I insist. I am not afraid to face my demons, no matter how brown or liquidy they are. And so, I was trying to be cute 'cause I was drunk. I climbed up on the step stool we had in our room. I spread my butt cheeks with both hands, sucked in some air, puckered my hole, and I projectile shitted all over her.
Fuck, I knew it.
And I haven't performed any anal audio since then. Until now. And after all the practice, preparation, and performance, they didn't even go with it. They chose those other 2 bimbos.
Well, Mr. Johnson, I'm sorry they didn't choose your O-ring performance, but that was a very touching, tragic, and tasteless story. Would you mind to whistle us out?
Sure, not at all. What would you like to hear?
Well, how about to commemorate you overcoming your fear and being brave enough to tell us your story, how about you whistle the Dixie out of here?
Okay, Dixie it is.
Motherfucker! I thought you said you enemed.
I did. I guess there was a little left in the tank.
Son of a bitch, I just bought this shirt. Well, that's it from here. Reporting from the Stupid Bowl. For News 4 on 20, I'm Harry Hopper. That Harry, he's always in some shit.
I think he's a putz.
Well, that's all the time we have for tonight. Join us next time when we'll have more distraction, separation, and fear-mongering. We'll even use some different words. I'm Dick Rammer.
And I'm Jennifer Phibb.
Good night, everyone.